Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be on. I just want to talk to all of you guys. So, Proposition 16, you hear about a lot of California ballot initiatives or like some weird law that is never going to affect me in any way. It's not going to affect my community. It doesn't mean anything. It's just some weird law that affects some people in a unique situation, or it's a special interest law. And I'm living proof that that is just not the case. That Proposition 16, a yes on Proposition 16, if you vote that way, it will directly impact your life and your chances of going to graduate school or college or get into a job at the state government. I'm living proof that it does affect Indian American, Asian American, white, and African American and Hispanic communities in a big way. Obviously, you guys seen my ad. You've probably heard the story of how I got in to medical school by posing as an African American. Back in 1999, I was a very mediocre student who really aspired to become a physician, as many Indian Americans, South Asians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, people from all throughout Asia. Many of them, they aspire that your child will become a physician. I was a young Asian American applicant. I did some research. I realized that an Asian American like myself was unlikely to get into medical school with my grades and test scores. But weirdly enough, an African American student with my grades and test scores had a high probability of admission. So I came up with the idea of shaving my head, trimming my long Indian eyelashes, and applying to medical school as a black man. And it happens to be that my parents actually were ethnic Indians who lived in Africa, so I could pull it off even more. Anyways, it worked beyond my wildest expectations. I got into St. Louis University School of Medicine, despite the fact that my 3.1 GPA was dramatically lower than their average of 3.7. I got waitlisted at Washington University and the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. I want to point out those are the third and fourth best medical schools in this country. Not bad for a kid with a 3.1 GPA, huh? I realized the enormous impact that race had on admissions. Eventually, I dropped out of medical school, which is why I even would tell this story to anyone. Otherwise, I would have just kept it to myself and merrily gone away my life. Subsequently, got into UCLA, but this time, because of Proposition 209 back in the day, I got in based on merit. And I learned that it was possible to have a diverse class of African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanics, and whites, and a great educational experience without practicing racial discrimination in the form of affirmative action. Now, you might say, but Joe, Joe is my middle name. That's actually one of the reasons why I was able to pose as an African American by using my middle name, but that's a whole nother story. Anyways, this is so long ago. My goodness, it was like 20 years ago that you posed as an African American to get into medical school. Well, according to the American Association of Medical Colleges, an Asian American, and if you're South Asian, that means you, who applied to medical school with a very mediocre 3.1 GPA and 31 MCAT score in 2016. According to the American Association of Medical Schools, had an 18% chance as an Asian American, that's you and me, a 28% chance as a white person, a 46% chance of admission as an Hispanic, and a 76% chance of admission as an African American. So if you did the same thing that I did today, not 20 years ago, today, okay, you would improve your chance of admission to medical school. You would triple it. You would move your chance of admission by greater than 50%. Okay, I just want you guys to know that if you're a South Asian and you want to go to college or graduate school, Proposition 16 will reduce your chances of getting into a great college or getting into a great graduate school or getting a job with the state of California. That is the simple statistical fact. Okay, you gotta realize the impact this is going to have on our community in terms of achieving our educational goals, and that's why I became so vocal about it. That's why I so vocally spoke out against it. Realize that if this is your dream for your kid, this is going to make it harder. Now, I've heard many people, especially at the time of Proposition 209 back in the day, who said that somehow that this would hurt women. saying no to Proposition 16 would hurt women. Well, that's not true, because just in case you haven't realized it, there's not exactly a shortage of women in nursing. And I can tell you this because I'm an admissions consultant. It's a lot harder to get into nursing school if you're a woman than a man. So if you have this idea that somehow Proposition 16 benefits women, try to apply to nursing school as a woman. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. It's going to be very hard for you, especially harder than it would be if you were a man. So I just want to make it clear that Proposition 16 is racial discrimination against Asian Americans. It's going to hurt the Indian American, but not just the Indian American, the Pakistani community, the Bangladeshi community, anyone from the continent of Asia, whose ancestors came from the continent of Asia, who wants to apply to college or graduate school. It's going to hurt you. And so, that's kind of my message to all you guys. And of course, I'm proudly wearing my UCLA shirt. If you want to see more Asians at UCLA, more South Asians at UCLA, you got to vote no on Proposition 16, because otherwise your chances are going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot harder for you guys.